Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you all are fine. Here's your book, a selection of modern English essays for B part 2. And your very first lesson is Pakistan and the Modern World by Liaquat Ali Khan. In conferring a degree upon me, you and the University of Kansas City have bestowed upon me and my country an honor for which I cannot adequately thank you. For my address today, I have advisedly chosen the subject of Pakistan and the modern world. I have done this for two reasons. In the first place, I am conscious of the fact that you have been kind enough to select me as the recipient of your recognition in order to do honor to my country rather than to reward me for my inadequate merits. It is fitting, therefore, that in expressing gratitude for your generosity, my country more than myself should speak to you on this occasion. In the second place, we live today in an era of widening horizons. It is in a sense an era in which new countries are being discovered. More than 4 centuries ago, great explorers from Europe voyaging out to discover the continent from which I hail. He's talking about the British colonizer who came to different parts of the land in order to colonize them and to get the financial benefits. Discovered your great land, you with your growing interest in the affairs of the world are poised in a moment of history when you cannot but carry that voyage forward. If I may be permitted to say so, the discovery of Asia has not yet been accomplished. In fact, it has only just begun. In speaking to you today, I trust I shall be of some assistance to you in discovering a part of Asia which I know well and which is very dear to me. He's talking about Pakistan and in pointing out some of the links that destiny is forging between your people and ours. He's going to highlight the problems that and going to make the comparison between Pakistanis and Americans and the problems they had faced during their independence and after the colonial era. Pakistan is a new state to be, or to be more exact, a new democracy. As a democracy, it is not yet 3 years old. There was a time when your country, where the tradition of civil liberty, freedom and democracy have now taken such firm root, was new and young democracy, and the memory of your struggle for independence was yet fresh in the minds of men. If you can in your imagination reconstruct those times for a little while, you will in many ways be reading the history of Pakistan and of the first 3 years of its new life. Liaquat Ali Khan draws a close connection between America and Pakistan in terms of practicing democracy and freedom as a new norm in earlier days. And if the American reconstruct in their imagination the time just after their own independence, they will feel and bring into focus the problems of Pakistanis. They will experience that both countries are facing the same problems, because America after the colonial rule had faced the economic, social, international problems that Pakistan was still facing during that time. Till 3 years ago, Pakistan was only an ideal and a longing in the vast subcontinent where present-day Bharat and Pakistan were situated and where British held sway. There lived 100 million Muslims who for centuries had made this part of the world their homeland. They lived side by side with 300 million others, mostly Hindus, who had come to this continent in an earlier era. As the day of freedom to these 400 million people drew near, it became increasingly obvious that at the end of the British rule, the 100 million Muslims would have to live their new life as a perpetual political minority. Long experience and the history of several centuries had taught them that under a dominating majority of 3-1, freedom from British rule would mean to the Muslim not freedom but merely a change of masters. This is just the root cause of the two-nation theory. According to this theory, Muslims and Hindus are two separate nations by definitions. Muslims have their own custom, religion and tradition and moral point of view. Muslims are different from Hindus. Muslims should be able to have their own separate homeland in which Islam is the dominant religion, being segregated from Hindus. And it was not merely a question of religious differences as that phrase is generally understood. It was not merely that, whereas the Muslims were monotheists. Monotheists believe in one god or they worship one god, and Hindus were polytheists. Poly means many, different, कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा. Or that the Muslims believed in the prophet of Arabia and in Christ and the prophets of the Old Testament, whereas the Hindus did not. The difference were even more pervasive than this and created a maladjustment between the two peoples in almost every situation of their daily lives. The Hindus believed in a caste system which made it a sin for those at the top of the hierarchy to eat with the so-called lower human beings, or in some cases even to touch them. The Muslims believed in the equality of all men, regarding even priesthood as unnecessary and a negation of the bond which exists between God and each of his creatures. Their economic outlooks were also very different. The Muslims believed in the right of private ownership for everyone, whether man or woman, and had laws of inheritance and economic institutions which, unlike those of the Hindus, were designed to promote the distribution of wealth and discourage vast unearned accumulation. Here you can see the very basic problem between the Hindus and Muslim for their belief. Muslim believe in only one God and Hindus believe in many God. And the problem was still there with their religion and in their belief of caste system. Hindus believe in caste system. They had made the hierarchies of the between the human beings, that this caste is superior and this caste is inferior, and superior caste cannot eat with the inferior ones, and inferiors are the slaves and the superior are like the masters. But Muslims don't have any kind of differences. They are Muslims are equal, and Muslims have right in inheritance. They have the right in property, and their women also get their rights in property, while the Hindus don't have this kind of freedom. But since the Hindus were much larger in number, the Muslims feared that that under their domination, the culture of the Muslims would suffer a great setback and would perhaps be totally eclipsed. Furthermore, in a country which was on the whole backward, the Muslims economically, industrially were even more backward. It seemed certain to them that as an unalterable, unchangeable, जो बिल्कुल तब्दील नहीं हो सकता, and perpetual minority, their economic position would grow even worse. Thus, to the Muslim in that part of the world, freedom from British rule meant practically nothing, unless it meant freedom from the domination of the Hindu majority also. Muslims were in a very bad condition economically. उनके माशी हालात ही ठीक नहीं थे. They wanted to get freedom in order to become stable, but it was very difficult for them to become stable in a very few years without making any rapid stride with the developing countries. It was for these reasons that they asked for a country of their own. Their demand was not so unreasonable as it was made out to be by some people at the time. The subcontinent was vast enough for two large countries. The Muslims were numerous enough to constitute a nation bigger than most nations in the world. And in the subcontinent, there were large enough areas where they were in majority. It is these areas that were separated, and today from the independent sovereign state of Pakistan, we believed none that the demand of the Muslims in British India to have a separate state of their own was, both on human and geopolitical grounds, a very reasonable demand. To millions of Muslims, it meant the only opportunity for genuine freedom and genuine self-government. To millions of Hindus, it gave the same opportunity for developing their own culture, untrammeled by the constant discontent of a large and unmanageable minority. Here, Liaquat Ali Khan is trying to make a parallel picture of the Hindus and Muslims. If Hindus get a separate homeland, they will be able to live freely, and they will be able to practice their own rituals, and Muslims on the other hand will do the same. From the point of view of world peace, the creation of two independent and comparatively homogeneous states instead of a single uneasy and unwieldy state with great strains and stresses within the body politic was the greatest contribution that could be made towards the creation of a stable New Asia. Peace-loving men and women who today lament the strained relations between Pakistan and Bharat, and none laments them more than we do, should at least have this consolation that had Pakistan not been separated from the rest of British India, far more serious and dangerous cracks would have appeared in that subcontinent, resulting in untold upheavals. Potentially, therefore, the creation of Pakistan has by itself dissolved what would have been a perpetual danger zone in Asia.